Hi, I'm Kinkas and I'm a synth DIY guy. Happy New Year! Welcome to today's video, which is the demo video for the Olivella Modular Imágenes. And I'm pronouncing it like this because this is the first module from Argentina that I've ever gotten to review. This one I actually built. You can watch my build video. Very fun kit to build. Very good quality module. It is a stereo state variable filter with some really interesting features, especially the stereo image control over here. We'll get to that. Basically, it's two filters. You can use them as two separate filters. The only thing that you can't control separately is the resonance and the input level. Everything else can be controlled independently if you're using it as separate filters. These two outputs over here are the direct outputs from each filter. However, it's meant to be used as a stereo filter, and you have stereo outputs over here which go through the stereo image processing over here. So basically, all the way to the left you have the fully open stereo image, left and right. As you approach the center, you get closer to mono, and then at the very center you have mono response, and then it starts inverting the stereo image, right? Starts crossing them to the other side as you move clockwise to the maximum position, right? There are switches for low pass, bandpass, and high pass per side, right, per channel. So that can be really interesting as well when you don't have them set to the same, the way that the stereo image knob respond will be very cool. This is the resonance. This is a global control. You have resonance CV as well with an attenuator, right? And yes, it does oscillate at full resonance, and it's very well in tune over about 5 octaves of 1 volt per octave response, which you can calibrate with a single trim pot per channel in the back. It's pretty simple. These are your two inputs, right, per filter. Both of them are affected by the drive switch and the input level control. You have independent frequency controls for each side as well. However, if you use the link switch, then you can control both of the filters with a single CV input over here or a single knob. This knob then becomes the spread, right, the frequency spread between the two filters. These are the volt per octave inputs over here, so that's an additional set of voltage inputs, right? These don't have attenuators. And you have the stereo outputs over here, and you have the image CV input with its attenuator as well. So you have attenuators for both frequency inputs and the image CV, right? So without further ado, let's start listening to what this thing sounds like, right? Let's just listen to one side for now, just to get a feel for the filter. So I'm going to connect this output over here, direct output for the first side, straight into my output module, and then we're going to connect. I have a new module here from Soundforce. Soundforce has sent me 3 modules. I will be doing a review of the dual LFO module here, but they did send me a full voice. I have their micro VCF 6 filter and the DCO oscillator, which is really cool because it gives you these sliders to mix the saw, pulse, sub 1, sub 2, and noise outputs. But we can take just a saw output over here and stick it in to the input, and let's listen to the filter. This is the bandpass, right? Very nice sound, very nice 12 dB per octave 2-pole state variable filter response. Here's the resonance a little higher. Starts getting a little vocally sounding. In fact, if I use the stereo output over here, you get a mix of both, right? And if I have them both in bandpass and linked, you can get some of those vocal formant kind of sounds. And I'm leaving the stereo image in the center because we're using it in mono right now. Here's with low pass. Well, let's go back to the individual output here. Here's the low pass. Now the drive switch is engaged. So if we add the input here, hear how that starts clipping? It's very noticeable. Here, in some positions you even get more overdrive, right? Let's bring that resonance down. Resonance up again. Alright, now without the drive, a much cleaner sound. And here's the high pass. So nice having a high pass option. I think high pass filters are super underrated. Everybody has a ton of low pass filters. Okay. All right. Now, why don't we send this DCO a sequence? Very cool. Now, let's connect the actual stereo outputs. So, that's right side, left side. Let's unlink them, so I have individual control per side, both of them in low pass here, and we'll open up the stereo image. Now right now we only have one input going, right? In order to get the full stereo advantage, why don't we send that pulse output to the second input? So here we can hear the left side, right? And the right side. Now here's the stereo image in the middle. They're in mono, right? And as we turn left, that image inverts, right? And you can control that with CV. So why don't we send it on LFO here? Could be from my filter 8, one of the sinusoidal outputs. And there you have a very cool auto pan or Leslie kind of effect. Now why don't we also connect some other sinusoidal outputs to the frequency controls here, and we'll invert them. So I'm going to use opposing sines from the filter 8. I could also use the same one and just use the attenuverter to invert one of them, but this is pretty cool already. There There you go. How about in Bandpass? A little bit of drive, a little bit more resonance. So cool. And you can modulate it with audio rate, so let's put filter 8 into audio rate modulation here. So now we're getting a bit of a amplitude modulation effect, like a ring modulator, in the stereo image control here. Ah, listen to that. Very cool. Let's go back to low frequency here. How about we send a chaotic voltage from orbit 3 into the resonance input here. Creates even more variation. Very cool. Let's change up our sequence here. Very cool. How about we move these frequency controls to the volt per octave inputs over here, and then we can use something else to modulate the two frequency inputs there. How about some other outputs from the orbit 3 chaos oscillator? Intense, right? Let's make this more interesting and send a chaotic voltage to the FM input of the DCO here. Now things are getting even more interesting. Very nice sounds. Let's go back to Lopass here. Listen to that bouncing stereo back and forth. So cool. Very nice. I can make the image a little more subtle by attenuating a little bit of that CV. You still get quite a bit of stereo, but not so radical. Super cool. Resonance down. Attenuator up. Let's go to audio rate modulation with filter again. Alright, why don't we melt the sequencer CV? Send that to the filter 8. So this is already pretty cool right here. Here we go. Now the modulating filter 8. Let's being controlled by the sequencer and the oscillator as well. Remove the FM here. Or we do pulse width modulation. Square waves getting modulated by the chaos oscillator now. Oh boy, so cool. All right, so let's pull everything out and try something different. Here, I want to try the Imágenes as an oscillator in its own right. So let's turn down the main level here and turn up the resonance. So right here I have individual manual control over the frequency of each filter. But let's say I like this interval right here. I can now link them. And now as I move the left frequency knob here, they move together and keep that interval. And in fact, if I send the output of my sequencer to that input, the volt-per-octave left side volt-per-octave input, there we go, they're both moving together. If I unlink them, then we get a drone, right? And just one moving one. I tune them very close, keep a little bit of beating, and I can open the stereo image now. And you have a stereo sine wave oscillator. And here we go. Let's make it detune a little bit more. Like about there. Now here's in the center, you really hear that detune. But as you open up the stereo, very cool. Now I can actually frequency modulate one with the other. So let's take output of filter 2 and stick it into the frequency input of filter 1 here. Let's unlink them. And now check it out. An FM sound noise machine, all on its lonesome, right? Not using any external modules, just one oscillator to modulate the other. That's very cool right there. I can also use them as percussion voices, right? So if I send, for example, the contour 1 here as an envelope, we can take a gate from my sequencer here to trigger that, and we can take the output and send it to the frequency control here. Let's make it mono for now. Bring up the main level here a little bit. Very cool. Now we can take the gate output from channel 2 of my sequencer and create a sequence here as well. And we can use this one on the second frequency input here. Now I can open them in stereo a little bit. use the attenuator here to tune that up. Let's get him closer to mono. Now we can take another modulation source and stick it into volt per octave here. Maybe we want to control these, so I'm going to send each of my modulation outputs to one channel of the select 2 voltage processor here, and that'll allow us to attenuate, since the volt per octave inputs don't have attenuators. We can use the select 2. Cool. So here's the Imágenes as a percussion synth, right? 2-voice percussion synth. And the way that I'm doing this without using VCAs is I just have the frequency knobs all the way down. So without any CV, the frequency is so low that it's virtually inaudible. See? If I were to bring them up, then you hear them constantly. Alright? If I leave them all the way down and turn up the attenuators, of course, these can be CV outputs where we get a more controlled variation. Open them up in stereo more. Why don't we modulate that stereo? Take an audio rate sine wave there. Suddenly sounds kind of like a bit crushed. Now let's go to low frequency. Alright. Now we're getting that kind of Leslie. And this is using the Imágenes as a dual sine wave oscillator. Now what happens if I take the output of side 2 into the audio input of side 1? Ooh! Oh my god, that was unexpected. Let's do the same, take the output of side 1 into the input of side 2, and let's turn up that input level. So yeah, more than a filter, this thing is a full-fledged noisemaker all on its own. So So yeah, this is one of those modules. The possibilities are endless with it, but I think you get the idea. So I'm gonna stop for now. I hope you liked the video. I hope you like the Imágenes, and that's it. See you soon and stay noisy.